Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Front Porch. Today we're talking about a little something different. It relates mainly to our business model. So today I'm joined by Nick, Senior Editor, joined by Sue, Project Manager, and I'm joined by Kevin, Creative Director.
Hey.
How are we all doing?
Pretty good.
Good?
How are you, Ethan?
Yeah. I'm great, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got my dinosaur shirt on from Dino Land.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In Kentucky. If you're ever down there, check it out. Cave City. Today we're talking about EOS. And you might be asking, what is EOS? And we're not referring to the Canon operating system. We are talking about, and this is directly from their website, EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, is a complete set of simple concepts and practical tools that has helped thousands of entrepreneurs around the world get what they want from their businesses. So essentially, it's a business model. And we have implemented it starting...
We went about 2 years ago is when we had an implementer.
Yeah.
We did, I would call EOS Lite for probably a couple of years before
I
that.
think they call it
free trial.
self-implementation.
It wasn't quite what we were after before.
Yeah, trial and error type
Yeah,
thing.
Right,
it was a lot of Andy reading the books
Yeah.
from the system and then kind of having his own grasp on it and then trying to teach us it.
And then we all read the books.
Yeah, but it wasn't something we didn't do, and we'll talk more about this, but we didn't really do L10s.
No.
We didn't really do, we had, I think, a kind of rocks set up in place.
Yeah.
And kind of a different structure for 555s. We just had one-on-ones once in a while and things like that. But
Yeah, EOS Lite. It's a good way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
Like doing parts of it, but not all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about, and this is great because all of us have been with this company from before that was implemented. So we can talk about what our business model was before and then what it was like during that transition and then how we operate now, because those are all very, very different states of operation. It's interesting. But before we get into all that, I would like to know what everyone has been watching.
I can start. So I've been watching Righteous Gemstones on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
Season 3?
Season 3.
Did you finish?
I have not.
We just finished.
No, I gotta keep up. I'm like maybe 4 episodes in.
Okay.
But it's probably one of my favorite TV series. I just love John Goodman, Danny McBride, Adam Devine, Devine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever his workaholic's name was.
Right.
Watching that and then watching Dave, the show on FX.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How you liking that?
It's good. It's different, but I'm a big hip hop music guy, so it's cool seeing all the cameos of like artists that I like and stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. I watched the first Underworld movie not too long ago with Kate Beckinsale. Just really solid, like vampire werewolf 2000s B-movie action. It's awesome. Like leather coats, the most blue color grade you'll ever see in your life. I love it. Liberty loves it. I'm going to watch the second one soon because I think the second one is my favorite. But yeah, just a good turn your brain off movie. Really, really good soundtrack. It's amazing.
Nice.
Oh, man.
What you watching, Sue?
Come on, Sue.
Did you know that Bluey just dropped new episodes?
I did not know that.
So those have been on repeat.
Where are those streaming?
Disney Plus.
Okay.
So that, the Mario movie, Mario Brothers,
Great
the new
movie.
one.
Yep.
Great
That's
movie.
good.
Yeah.
We just talked about it.
That's about it. Bluey plays on constant repeat.
you have
Guilty
the-
pleasure. I've been watching The Summer I Turned Pretty
Oh,
on
nice.
Netflix or on Prime. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you have all the Bluey episodes memorized by now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're strikingly accurate to parenting, but so I find it enjoyable. But
Yeah.
they're played almost constantly.
Out of all the kids shows that could be on repeat, I feel like Bluey is one of the better.
Yeah,
Ones.
there's far worse.
Yo Gabba Gabba.
Coco Melon.
last night and the night before, I watched a Marx Brothers movie.
Ooh.
So I grew up with those. So I watched Monkey Business the other day, and then last night I watched Horse Feathers. They're just fun. I grew up on them. I could quote them when I was 10. I think I started when I was 5. Like, love those guys. So old school from the 30s, but
That's awesome.
Sweet.
I'll have to watch those. I don't think I've seen those.
they're fun. Yeah, for sure. Harpo Marx is the
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
So there you go. Some Rex to check out, especially Bluey.
Yeah.
Especially Bluey.
Bluey's good. I love Bluey. Grace likes Bluey too. So, Kevin,
Yeah.
you've been here a while.
Yeah.
What was our operation structure like before EOS
Sure.
was even close to being a part of the picture?
Our operational structure was Andy would have an idea or a call from a client, and it would get somehow filtered to everyone who needed to do stuff in various ways at various times. Quite chaotic in some regards, but everything kind of flowed up and through from and down from Andy, I guess. Not really a whole lot of structure in place. We were functioning well, a little chaotic, but we were hitting that spot with right around, especially, it works well with just a couple people, five people in a room, always
Sure.
in the office, or out on shoots. Me and Andy did most of the shooting, and then I was involved in editing when I wasn't shooting. So that worked well because it was so small. But when we started getting around like 10 people on our team, we kind of kept hitting that threshold where things just kept getting left behind or increasingly more chaotic. We just hit a spot where it just was really hard to keep scaling up, getting stuff done, getting things done the right way. In so many ways. Yeah.
It was working to an extent. It just wasn't a sustainable path forward.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
didn't scale. So like you said, when it was because I came on shortly after that fact, and it was like 4 people, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And we were all huddled, and we just got an office and
Yep.
could communicate one-on-one there, but it was we're growing the number of projects and the number of clients, and now we're going to add some more people to the team. And it's we can't have a bottleneck of all information flowing through one person or everyone handling bits and pieces. It just needed more structure, more organization. And so it sort of evolved. And then Andy was handed the book Traction from a client, and it was kind of an aha moment for him that hey, this sounds like something that I can really get behind. And he implemented it like a lot of businesses do with self, I read the book. All right, let's put it into practice. Let's go for it. And we did that for a little bit, and it wasn't working as
Kind of just fizzled out. We get
Yeah.
excited about it because Andy's read that book a dozen times, I bet. So he'll read it a couple times and get really fired up about it. This is in the past, and all right, try to push the team and try to educate all of us about this. And I was all right, we're doing this. He got excited about it because it's a book that does get you really excited and really fired up for what you want to do. But if you're not always implementing the things that it talks about on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, then it starts to fizzle out. So it's a constant thing. And we're finally, after 2 years of doing this, at a spot where it's okay, we really kind of live and breathe it a little bit, but it's still always something that's evolving for us, and we're always learning new things and putting different practices in place. So
Yes.
constantly.
Yeah, because when I started, it was just we'd have our Monday meetings. It was always we were all only on that side too.
Yep.
We did not have this space at all. We were not working on the other side of the office where we have more offices. We were all just in one room every day.
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and a
I
lot of our Monday meetings too was just everything, and sometimes it would just be 2 hours, and it would bring in people that, I mean, it wasn't even relevant information to them, talking about a production that didn't involve half the team, talking about projects down the line that people didn't necessarily need to know about yet, and working out those logistics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think moving into what we have now, when we have those team meetings, we have just a lot less time wasted. We get to the bottom of problems a lot quicker and create solutions. We have ways to track our, progress, track our vision, track how the team's just doing in general. And I don't know, it's just night and day from what we came from, really.
Yeah, because those Monday meetings, like, that was it. Like, you did the Monday meeting, and we barely had meetings the rest of the week.
Just a big info dump all at once.
Yeah.
And
with a lot of like scratching your head a little bit and a little stressed out and chaotic.
yeah, and we had very few places virtually that like information lived. Like, that wasn't like Outlook calendar invites.
Yeah.
So if you were told to edit something, you just had to like write it down.
Yeah.
or remember it.
Or it doesn't exist anymore.
And be like, yeah, I get that. I'll make that work. But yeah, it led to a lot of really late editing nights sometimes, based on, depending on what the projects were. Sometimes we had really big projects that we didn't have the organizational stuff down on our end, and we still got all the work done, and it turned out great. But it was at a great sacrifice to like our time. And
Sure. I've had a few late nights here.
Yeah, I did too, but not to the extent that you did. It was crazy.
But yeah, the implementing of processes over time, I feel like it started out like there was, like you said, Andy read the books and there was ideas in place, and then over time, like, it's one of those things where you hear a quote from somebody and it doesn't mean anything to you, and then 5 years later you hear that quote and you're like, oh man, I've never felt anything close to like how that, it's just resonating with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how we were with Traction, with EOS. It was learning things and then relearning thing and then relearning thing until it fully develops.
Yep.
Like, I'm still learning. I think we all are still learning.
Yep.
And we're like, wow, I didn't know we could keep developing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are still a relatively young company, like in the grand scheme of every company.
Yeah.
Like, we're young, we're still figuring things out. That's totally okay.
Yeah. And it's changed so much over the last 5 years. We're almost 10 years old now. So, okay. But compared to where we were 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, this is completely different idea.
Whole
of
different
business.
landscape.
Yeah.
I mean, the real pivotal switch was when we decided to go all in and bring in Barb,
Yes.
who is our EOS guru, and we would meet with her on a quarterly basis, and she really helped us set the framework of like, this is how you actually implement this system.
Full day
workshops multiple times a year, and really spent the time teaching us how to use all the tools that are there. So then, as a leadership team, we could take that knowledge and pass it on. But like Nick was saying, she always says, it's like, you have to say something to someone 7 times before they will truly like internalize and understand it. So like, most of our team isn't even at 5 probably yet of us like teaching and re-emphasizing all the tools. But once it was kind of like we had this little bit of knowledge, but then once we started working with Barb, it was like, oh wait, like, now all the pieces are fitting together. This is all making sense. This is how this works together. And we've like exploded from that point of like sort of doing it to now it's like, no, we do it this way consistently. And, it's made the business just markedly better.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when did we start working with Barb? Because I wasn't a part of that initially.
2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah, probably.
Would have been Q2 of 2021, I think.
Yeah, and the leadership team was very different.
Yep. Yeah,
I mean, it was myself and Andy and Aaron.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then so there's been some, and then, we made the decision when Aaron left the company that we would bring Dane and Kevin on. And so then that, so it's merged and it's changed, but I think that's one of the biggest take homes of EOS is that it constantly changes and it teaches you how to operate with that change, knowing that nothing is ever going to be consistent. In order to grow, you have to change. So it's just like armed, especially me, like with the tools to like help facilitate that forward.
Right.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And with things always changing, it's being confident in the decision you're making right now and going 100% in on it, just knowing that it might only last 6 months until it needs to change. Mm-hmm. But as long as you have that in the back of your head, you can move without doubt towards whatever goal that you have in that time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, EOS is based on these. You basically operate in like a 60 to 90 day window, knowing that after like that your business could look very different 90 days from now. So you're setting these quarterly rocks, these quarterly goals to move to keep moving forward and forward. But every 90 days, the goals change for everyone, right? Depending on the environment, depending on clients, depending on workload, location, like anything, right? Like anything can get thrown in there to change the track of the business. So it's just, I mean, speaking from like a project manager, geeky, like organizational system, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like it just added the structure that we like definitely needed.
Yeah.
And Andy sits in the perfect position. In EOS terms, they call him the visionary, right? He is our big idea man, but does not necessarily love to live in the structure and the detail, right? So you bring in the integrator, who is me, and that's the person that takes all of this vision and makes it make sense and sometimes bring it down to earth, right? Yep. But other times be like, yeah, let's like go for that. But these are the steps we have to take to do so.
Yep. Because before Andy had way too much on his plate and wore way too many hats.
Yeah, and I think when we first started off, he was the visionary and the integrator.
Yes.
He's also from news.
Yes.
So, right. And he's better at one than the other.
Yeah.
You don't want the same person doing both.
It was
roles.
one of the first things with Barb, though. She was like, well, typically the visionary and integrator aren't the same person. Some people do it, but it doesn't work that well, right? So that was one of the first moves we made.
Which seems like a pretty common thing in most businesses. After reading Traction, a lot of companies that early on you are wearing like all of the hats and there's really no other option.
Right.
And then eventually, once you get to that point, you're like, okay, now everybody's going to be wearing 2 more hats.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get more people, and then they're going to give one of their hats to somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's how it's been, right?
Yeah.
We're,
as we grow, as we scale. Yeah.
And it's been crazy seeing, because I feel like the EOS evolution has been mirrored by like our office growth, like physically, because it was no EOS, we're down to that one room. Implement EOS, we spread to that side of the office, and we start implementing it more and more. And then now full-blown EOS, we're renovating over there. We're, talking about office changes. We're upscaling even more, like people-wise and machine-wise, and,
getting the whole team on board. And now we're looking at hiring another position. And so, I mean, for every interview that we've done, the first thing I do when we talk about who we are is I talk about EOS.
Yeah.
Because we hire off of what we've set up with EOS.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, EOS is very structured in terms of like your core values of your company really drive your business. And so we hire and interview based on these core values. Yes, skill set comes into play, but like our values sit at the top. And that's really helped us build the team that we have. And it's such a strong team because of that reason. But then it also helped us like set goals for 1 year, you set goals for 3 years from now, you set your 10-year goal. But it even merged into like target markets and marketing strategies and things that like, when we first started, it was like, well, whatever business flies our way, right? Sure. And then now it's like, well, no, we have this very set target market that we're going. It doesn't mean we don't take some things that aren't necessarily in there, but putting the strong focus on the target and the clients that we perform best for has just like the business has just continued to scale and grow. And
if it's not the right fit, there's a lot of frustrations that come into place, and we've had that. So you move on to the stuff that does work well and the stuff that you are good at, and we're still expanding and do so many things, but staying with that target market gives us lanes of what to occasionally say no to. So we can say yes to more things.
Right.
And so we can build relationships with current clients, elevate their brands, do things, I don't know, maybe a little outside our comfort zone, but with the people that we know will understand and are on the same page in
Trust
our market.
us and,
Yeah. Well, because, and I'll say this about us before we had EOS, it felt like every week we were given some impossible task and we always got it done. I can't think of a single project that like we never met the deadline.
Right.
No matter what it was.
Yeah. And there's been some crazy things.
And like, yes, it was disorganized. Yes, our content wasn't held to the standards that it's held to now.
Yeah.
Like color-wise, edit-wise,
We've improved in every aspect.
Yeah. But with EOS and having that structure and that leadership to look to, it has helped all of us become more passionate about our individual job positions and just explode in terms of like quality control and what we are capable of.
Yeah, it helps everyone step up into what they're good at.
Yeah.
I think,
Because like now I'm not worrying about all this organizational stuff because we have that more or less figured out now. Right. And it allows me to focus on the stuff that I have been assigned and to really fine-tune it and hone it and make it the best thing that it can possibly be. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, EOS really helps everybody. I guess it highlights everybody's unique ability and helps people find what they want to do, granted within the position and their, rise to whatever they want to be doing. But yeah, for me, I went from being an editor, animator, to senior editor, to now creative lead. And that path, I don't think, would have been the same if it wasn't for the way that we're operating now.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I was hired on as a project manager, I was just sort of trying to make sense of the flood of stuff coming in, and but now now I'm at the managing director role, right? That sort of overseeing the operations of everything. And I would have never said, yes, that's what I'm after. Or even have thought of myself in that type of position. But now I can't really imagine not being. But I think one of the biggest powers of EOS is how you solve problems. And you just call out the issues and you solve them in the moment, and you don't let them sit and turn into something much bigger. So that was one of my biggest, actually just coming out and saying the issue, right? And instead of being well, maybe this will blow over, or
right,
I don't have the confidence to speak up about this right now, but this is nope, just you see it, you say it, and let's figure it out and move on. That mentality has
and that takes a long
just crushed
time.
Everything, right?
And that's always the intent, but it takes a long time for you to actually
get there.
Because you do it every week, so you're training yourself to be able to do that,
right?
And sometimes
faster.
Twice a week between leadership and the whole group.
Yep.
We're all introverted to some extent.
Right.
That's why we have these jobs.
Yeah.
So telling a bunch of introverts that they can speak up and
yeah.
be comfortable about speaking up, that can take a while
Yeah.
Yes.
to get through people's heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's understandable.
But yeah, to Sue's point, the problem solving is a component of, our L10s,
Yep.
our level 10 meetings, where every week we meet on a leadership side of things for an hour and a half and go through this kind of list of things that we do in order every single time to be consistent. And then one of those things that we reach that we spend most of the time on is that problem solving, where we find those top 3 problems that we're facing and then just spend that time on it and make sure if the meeting goes that hour and a half, that those 3 most important things are solved until the next week, which for me on both the leadership side and the group side has been just, crucial to our team.
Yeah.
If you told me 3 years ago that we would be doing that, I would have laughed in your face. I would have been like, yeah, all right, chucklehead.
Yeah. No, it's come a long way.
Yeah. I think we'd be a completely different company, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and now we've moved, we've actually had our last quarterly meeting without Barb, right?
Yep.
So it's for the first time we were fly birds, you're on your own. And I think it went okay.
It went good.
I mean, it went good.
Yeah.
It's it's just it's a continual learning process. And,
It was good to try one without.
Yeah.
And I think next time we've got her, or later in the year, I'm not sure, but
right.
I wouldn't know any better because
Right,
I've
yeah.
never been in a meeting with Barb,
Yeah.
so it could have went really
man.
bad, and I've been like, yeah, this is good.
I'm feeling good about this.
you're supposed to sum up the meeting at the end of the 8-hour day with one word, and mine was barbless. So shout out Barb.
Barbless.
Barbless.
Yeah.
I can't remember what mine was, but it was along the same avenue as that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Solo or something.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But yeah, the point of EOS at the very end of the day is supposed to help you get better at 3 things. Vision, getting everyone within the company on the same goal, on the same track, working towards the exact same thing.
Rowing the same way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why we have those 3-year goals, those 5-year goals,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Traction, making sure we have the tools necessary to actually get there by establishing the leadership teams, by establishing the company values, by doing all that stuff. And then, having a healthy work environment by creating a cohesive leadership team that works well together and works well leading everyone else within the company.
Yeah, and how we form our team and how we work with our clients and the work we do are built off our core values that we kind of had an idea of before, but they're always changing, which to a degree, it takes a while to figure those out.
Yes.
But really us diving in and looking at them all the time consistently, now they've stayed this way for two years now, I think. Yeah. And that's what we do, and that's it just feels right.
Yeah.
So
all this to say, before EOS, we weren't like a bunch of trash goblins around, treating people terribly, making horrible content. We were still the people we are now. We were just like, oh, we don't really know.
A little misguided sometimes.
Sure. We're just driving without a destination, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we're all in one big minivan driving to the same destination together.
Disney World.
Dinosaur World.
I felt like that summed it up.
What's your favorite thing about EOS?
Oh, man. I like the leadership team aspect probably the most, because before it was, you and Andy for the most part, but there are some things that didn't really apply to either of you two a lot of the time, or Andy wouldn't have the time to try and answer to figure it out because he was wearing so many
You can't
hats.
fix every problem.
You can never expect that of someone. So having those responsibilities delegated out to more people
Yep.
and having more people to look to with like very different skill sets and knowledge about things, that makes workflows so much smoother than they would be normally without that guidance, I feel like.
I think that's honestly been my favorite thing too, is Andy coming to the realization that he can't fix every problem on his own, and letting other people step up and take care of some of those responsibilities and problem solvings and things like that. Because you can't grow a business if you can't grow the amount of time in your day to solve all the problems, right? Time is not elastic.
That has always been his like biggest note to me. He's like,
Right.
I know you know how to do so many things, but you just cannot
Because he
do everything.
He has been there.
Yes.
Yeah. For a long time, you know, for the first several years of him operating the business.
Yeah. He's always like, ask other people how they do it, like get their input. You don't need to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a, decision by consensus, right? It's a collaborative environment.
Yeah.
It's not just one person says this is what we do. Like, there's a lot of discussion into any decision made about the business, which, brings in varying perspectives, and you have very good discussions. And I mean, I think my favorite part of EOS is the collaboration between, I mean, at a leadership level, but also like at the team level too, right? Any issue that we're having, you hear from all the voices at the table and move forward together.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, operating a business is an insane thing.
Yes.
If you think about it, and if you have no lanes and you have no kind of structure or outline or anything, you can get pretty far sometimes if you work really, really, really hard. But there's going to be a point where you can't do it anymore.
No.
Right? Like, there's thousands of decisions that you make in a week sometimes.
well, yeah, and they talk, I mean, EOS speak, right? It's like you're on this track and then you hit a ceiling.
Yeah,
right?
and we felt that.
Yeah, and you can't, how do we bust through this?
Right.
And like with the structure of EOS, it was like, oh, well, we broke through that one. Yes, we'll hit another one.
Yeah.
But then you just have it all built. You have the solid foundation to just keep moving.
Yeah. Especially for us, because I feel like we have a very unique business model where we just have so many clients that we are constantly doing so many things. Like every week, we are always busy. And a lot of production companies don't necessarily have that business model. They take on a few big projects and then that's their lives for, a good amount of time. And then they just kind of repeat that. But we do a lot.
We do absolutely
a lot.
operate differently.
And that's not me like bragging about it or like tooting our own horn. That's just what it is. That's what our business is.
Yep.
We do a lot for a lot of people and we like doing it.
And with being in our own lane comes us having to develop our own processes.
Yep.
We had to find our own model and, develop our core focus, target market, whatever that may be, like any other company. But then taking our proven process that we've had from day one and then breaking that down into all of the nitty gritty processes, I think that is what has given us, that gives us the environment to collaborate, like you said. It gives us the environment to problem solve it, make sure that our quality control is on top. We're communicating with the client well. I mean, yeah.
Well, and with all that work coming from all these different places, and it's just a wide range of different projects, we always have special cases that are poking holes into that process.
Yeah.
So we're always figuring out ways to patch those holes when they come up also. We never have it totally figured out.
Yeah.
But we have it figured out enough to where we can tackle a lot of problems that are thrown our way a lot easier than we would be able to.
And quicker.
A lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
Yeah.
Makes you think where we would be without it.
Yeah.
Not here.
Not here. I don't think we'd be in here right
No.
Physically or metaphorically.
Was there anything else anyone has to say about it? I feel like we touched on it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, if you're at this point, if this all seems like something that you've been through in where you work or the business you own, like look into this. Or if you're doing the EOS Lite right now and you feel like it's not working, or you feel like your business doesn't like quite fit into the mold that, because I would say like, I was like, how is video production going to fit into this business model?
Yeah.
And I was surprised that it took me a while, but it absolutely does.
Right.
So if you're in this place, if this sounds familiar, like check this out because it's pretty life-changing, I think.
Yeah.
So
I would add on to that and say life-changing from a professional, but also a personal
Yes.
standpoint. I've seen just in my own personal life a lot of things trickle over of just like evaluating where I'm at on a personal level from like how am I doing? How could I be doing better? Where am I struggling?
Yeah.
How could I be helping other people inside and outside of work? And it's great stuff.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. You're totally right. Wow.
Wow.
How far we've come.
Really makes you think.
Yeah, that really makes you think. Well, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah, cool.
It's short and sweet. I hope that was insightful to anyone watching and or listening. Again, what Kevin said, if all this resonates with you, if you're an EOS Lite, if you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. You're not going to break it. It's not going to ruin your business or anything. But I think it's important to look at where we've been, where we are now, because I feel like it's a perfect example of what it's capable of, and helping people achieve the goals that they strive to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening. As always, thanks for joining us on the porch and sticking around. I don't know when this is going to get posted.
2024.
Happy fall.
Happy New Year.
And yeah, we'll see you all next time. So we'll get off the porch, please. Thanks for coming.
Perfect timing.
Believe it or not, we are actual video professionals in addition to being total wackos on this podcast. If you like The Front Porch, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We deliver best-in-class video content for our global clients in a range of corporate applications. We regularly work with product-based companies, corporate marketing teams, high-tech manufacturing agencies, and many more. If you're ready to get started on your next video content project, reach out to our team and let's talk video. You're welcome on our porch anytime.